this episode is all about killer fragrances. You know, so if you're happy and you know it, kill people that you have been watching and stalking for a time or so. Don't do that. But you know, it happens. Greetings, Earthlings and Frag Commies. My name is Luke. I am Poe. Welcome to another edition of Luke is Poe Fragrance Show, a place where ultimately you'll be disappointed. Okay, I said it. It's not going to stop you or prevent you from being disappointed down the road later on in this video, but you'll reflect back to this moment in time and realize he warned us. He told us so. But if you're looking for an honest fragrance review, you've come to the right place. And I should know, okay? I just defeated the great COVID-19 virus, which is, redundant. Still, I was without smells for a time or so, and now they grew back. So we have fresh sniffers, smellers, senses, cells. That, or they're scarred and they'll never be the same. But let's just go with fresh smellers for the sake of credibility. Now, I hate to make an assumption about you, dear viewer, because I know you would never make an assumption about this, right? But you're probably thinking this is a fragrance video about dark fragrances that are bow wow killers. Sorry, bro. That's not what this kind of video is all about. And I'm not saying that it's clickbait, although it is 1,000% absolutely clickbait. I'm just saying, how do we not know Ted Bundy didn't have a signature scent, right? How do we not know that he wasn't going around rocking Paco Rabanne Pour Homme? How do we not know Eileen Wuornos, probably the most famous of the female serial killers out there, wasn't rocking Lolita Lumpica? I don't even know when that came out. Probably not in the 70s. We're off to a solid start. The first killer fragrance we'll be talking about is La Nuit de L'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. I believe it is the correct French on that. I consulted with Clements over in England, but she claims she's French. I don't really think she's actually French. I think she just really wants to be French and has perfected the French accent. Good for her. This fragrance, though, is known as a cardamom bomb. And I could kind of see where that's coming from. Although, for you aspiring terrorists out there, I would highly recommend gunpowder to cardamom, because a cardamom bomb is just ridiculous. But if you're looking at a fragrance and you want a lot of cardamom, this is probably one of the best out there. It is not hyper unique. You smell this quite a bit. It is known as a very sexy date night out fragrance, and it is all of that. It is sexy, as I mentioned. It is charming. It does not last a long time, thanks to reformulations. Clearly, this fragrance is the teddy bear. Theodore Bundy, okay? Theodore Bundy, probably one of the most famous serial killers, just because he kind of looks like a normal guy. And actually a lot of women found him attractive, unibrow and all. Ted Bundy was a very smart, charming young man who liked to kill people. And he even escaped once. And instead of creating a new path, living off the grid, he just started killing again. So maybe he wasn't actually that smart, although he was in law school for a period. I mean, maybe this is just a larger conspiracy that attorneys aren't intelligent. You be the judge. The judge, attorneys, we're going to leave that one in there. Ted Bundy and La Nuit de L'Homme, both on the surface, are charming, pleasant, mass appealing, will attract attention of the intimate or sexual variety. But they can be a little bit of escape artists. Ted escaping from jail in La Nuit de L'Homme, the newer reformulations, escaping your skin. This next fragrance, that is a killer in its own right, is terror and magnificence. It's in the frickin' name, people. Okay? It's from Beaufort London. Beaufort London? You know, the English language and stuff. This is a fragrance that is very subtle, but it's also very different. It's not a fragrance that kind of smacks you in the face in the opening, but it's very nuanced. There's a lot of layers going on. It is a very smoky vetiver, first and foremost, but it's also got a lot of spice, particularly black pepper in the opening. And I am here to report to you fine folks, this serial killer is hiding in plain sight in Fradcom. This fragrance reviewer is none other than Benjamin Banjo Centaur. You might be thinking, there's no way Centaur could be a serial killer. He wouldn't harm a fly. I agree with you. He is a very nice young man, a gentleman of the southern variety, I would even say. However, did you notice that his YouTube name used to be Centaur, and now it's Centaur? What happened to the eye? He probably buried it in his awesome backyard that he does his fragrance reviews in, along with his other victims. Okay? How do you think it's so lush and green? How do you think he's so at home in his backyard? Well, that's because he spends a lot of time digging holes for bodies and or the letter I from Centaur. I would also like to add this disclaimer that Ben has not been convicted or arrested of serial killing, but, you know, he seems like he would enjoy a good bowl of cereal and possibly murder one right after the other. But, you know, with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, who wouldn't? This next killer fragrance, killer scent, however you want to put it, is going to cause some waves. It's going to be a little bit controversial. And that's Dior Sauvage Eau de Toilette. The EDT, known for its beast mode, is all about freshness in a modern, metallic way. And it gets a lot of hate. And that's going to bring me to the serial killer I would pair with Dior Sauvage, Jeffrey Dahmer. When you do some research into old Jeffy boy, very disturbing. Although great fashion sense in the glasses department. He was a guy who liked to go to the local club and pick up men. Nothing wrong with that. That's, as a young man, you know, going out and sowing his wild oats. However, you know, the whole drilling holes into your skull and pouring acid into them and trying to make them zombies and have sex with them was widely frowned upon. Thus, Jeffrey Dahmer, who also was known to eat his victims, became not only a hopeful romantic, you guys, but a cannibalistic necrophiliac, which is really the triple threat of hopeless romantics. This next fragrance is a clone. And though I'm not personally big on clones, at times they are kind of nice. If you don't want to go to work one day, you create one and you send them off. If your daughter's particularly fussy, you just plop her in its lap. Okay, we're talking about fragrance clones, and despite that, this clone was created by our very own Michael Dinsmore, DJ Dinsy. This is a fragrance or inspired by version of Dior Homme Parfum, which is personally kind of my unicorn. It was one of the first fragrances on my fragrance journey that I just had to get my hands on, and then I realized it's discontinued in the US, and to get a bottle, it is vastly overpriced. We're talking north of $250 for a bottle that would have cost maybe a little over $100 full retail. It is beast mode, it is iris and leather, it is a kind of metrosexual, masculine, modern scent. And I really, really dig it. However, I haven't pulled the trigger yet, poor phrase with a serial killer video, with Dior Homme Parfum. However, my boy Dinsy hooked me up with his own inspired by version called Cancelled. And all I have to say about Cancelled is, nice try, DJ Dinsy, okay? We know what's going on behind that microphone, all right? This fragrance is clearly a call for help. This fragrance name is no coincidence, because Dinsy is always hiding behind a microphone, right? He's got his ball cap tucked down over his eyes. He's got his hooded sweatshirt up. Do we really even know what he looks like, people? That's all I'm saying. He's hiding in plain sight. If there's been any murder in the New England area in the past 2+ years, there's a good chance it's been DJ Dinsy. And then he puts out a fragrance called Cancelled, because he's been canceling humans. See what I did there? That's called investigative journalism, science, logistics. The last fragrance we're going to mention, that's an absolute killer, stunner, murderer, Mancera's Black Gold. This is a fragrance that is totally unisex, could be worn by either men or women. It has kind of this fruity, almost barbershop quality, which of course is coming from the lavender, but then it's got a touch of oud. It's also got some cinnamon. It is a very long-lasting, almost fruity, fresh fragrance that is not super feminine like most fruity, fresh fragrances. It is a fragrance that I've been wearing in the classroom, and I think could be an awesome work scent for guys out there that are maybe wanting to change it up a little bit. But which serial killer would match up with Mancera's Black Gold? Well, I am a big believer in equal rights between men and women, and whatever a man can do, a woman can do just as well. And that is especially true with killing people. Historically, it's mostly white guys. White guys are just, all around. We do some pretty messed up.
Sauvage.
Going back to our female serial killer, though, that's Eileen Wuornos. And Eileen was a sex worker, a woman of the night, and she would kill these men, claiming self-defense, but also robbing them and then doing drugs with her girlfriend. It's a typical Florida night. Eileen, though, with her testimony and her stories, they didn't always match up. I'm not saying Eileen was lying, but she clearly was not telling the whole truth. And that kind of reminds me of Mancera Black Gold. This fragrance is marketed with having leather in the base. Also being heavily woody, there's really no leather in Black Gold. So if you're looking for that, you will be mightily disappointed. There is a touch of oud in the beginning, and I just mean this a moment of oud, and then it kind of mellows out with the fruits and the freshness and the spices. It is not a fragrance, though, that is going to be ultra masculine with the woods or the leather. And that's the best I can do to match a fragrance to a serial killing prostitute. That will wrap things up for me today, Frag Commies. If you are out there plotting someone's murder, just remember to spritz on some Dior Sauvage and think, don't do this.